Hello and a very warm welcome back to the Potters Pundit, and for the first time we are back at the stadium for Stoke's open training session, so it'll be interesting to see which players are involved. Now quite a few have got a little bit of a knock or an injury from pre-season, so we'll have to see which players are involved and are ready for Stoke's opening game of the season against Coventry on August the 10th. So with that, let's get to it. Now, one thing I have mentioned is, of course, injuries. Of course, Jun-Ho wasn't involved in the squad again in the Bolton friendly, so will he be playing? You've got, of course, Niall Ennis, of course, who got a knock in the Stockport game. Be interesting to see which players are involved and which ones maybe we're resting. We want to kind of just make sure they don't get any more injuries. And I reckon there'll be quite a few of course, the academy lads who have been absolute standouts during pre-season. Really enjoyed what they've had to offer. It'll be interesting to see what they're like in training, but you'll have to see what happens. Come join me. We're heading to the stadium now. We're nearly there. I'm out of breath because I'm nowhere near got the fitness as these lads. I wish I did, but we'll have to see. I'm right by the stadium now. Let's get to it. So, for the first time this season, we're in the ground and it's looking absolutely gorgeous. The up and coming home games, we welcome Coventry on the 10th of August at 12:30, which is of course on Sky Sports Plus, the new TV schedule that's coming up where a lot more of the Stoke games are on there. But you look at them 5 home games that we've got and you say that we'll get a real good insight into what the squad's like. All 5 opponents are good. Of course, Portsmouth have got promoted, could be a side that you know what could shock us this season and could be a real dark horse, but a real good opening home games of the season. And as well, of course, being in the ground for the first time, we got to check out the safe standing that's in the ground. Now it looks like from block 39 to 42, that is kind of the Stoke end where the safe standing will be. The away fans have now been moved to the corner to keep them quiet. We don't want to see them celebrating. It looks like it's from about block 35 to 38 that's where the away fans will be situated, but it could change depending on fixture or how many away fans sell out that part. But it's good to see that we've moved it round, create a bit more of an atmosphere, and at least we don't get to see the away fans celebrating, because that is honestly the worst thing you see when they've got that end of the ground right by the tunnel, and it's quite annoying, isn't it, really? So here were the players coming out ready for their open training session. Now I'm not going to run through all the players that were there. Of course, it was a mix of the first team and the academy lads. Of course, we got an insight into the new signings of Victor Johansson, Eric Bocat, Ben Gibson, and who signed the day before this open training session. Sam Gallagher also was involved. A couple of players that weren't involved that of course are in the first team was of course Michael Rose, who is out for a couple of months with ligament damage on his ankle, so hopefully we bring in a centre back to replace him for the time being. Niall Ennis had an impact injury against Stockport, but he was involved in the open training session, so it's good to see that it wasn't anything too serious with him. Now, of course, we knew that Ben Pearson is going to miss the start of the season with his ongoing hamstring injury, and Ryan Mai, who's out with a knee injury, but looks like he was meant to be involved in the training after recovering from the knee injury, but it looks like he's now out with a bit of an illness, so hopefully that's not too much and he can start getting involved and to be within the squad for the upcoming games. Ender Stevens was another one who wasn't involved in the open training session. Of course, he came off early in the first half in the friendly against Bolton, so hopefully that's nothing too serious. But the final one that we haven't mentioned who wasn't involved was Bae Jun-Ho, and here he is making an appearance, and hopefully it's nothing too serious and he's ready for the game against Coventry. So the first drill that Stoke were doing after their stretches was a cheeky passing one, and if you can see here, I've just pointed him out. I didn't even realise that there was a trialist within this open training session until I got back, and it turns out that this is Fred Onyedinma, and we're going to have a cheeky look at this player who could be in the red and white stripes for this up and coming season. Could it be that he's involved in the final friendly against AZ Alkmaar? We'll have to see. Now, last season he played the first part on loan at Rotherham, where it looks like he played quite a range of positions, more out wide than centrally, which he could play for the Potters. So maybe a sign of a player that is quite versatile, which it could work really well during a championship season. He made 16 appearances in the championship with 2 goals and 2 assists. Now, as I mentioned that he was at Rotherham for the first part of the season, where he then went back to his parent club to then go and make 8 appearances for Luton in the Premier League. So you know what, I feel like this is a player that we'll get on a free because of course being released by Luton, but it could be key in just bringing in that depth, something that Stoke probably do need, a couple more bodies in the building, and a player that is versatile like Fred Onyedinma could be a real key signing on a free. Now, as the squad moved over to a different drill, it was interesting to see that Ben Wilmot and Junior Shamadu weren't involved in that physical activity. Was it that maybe they were possibly injured? I'm not too sure. I presume they'll be involved in the friendly, but it was good to see new signings like Sam Gallagher involved as well. But look at this drill. It was an absolute carnage. It goes from 1 to a 2-on-1 to then a 3-on-2. It is absolute carnage, but it shows that intensity that Schumacher wants to implement in his team, that kind of quick movement, kind of getting the ball moving and getting out from the back. And of course in the drill beforehand they were doing that quite a lot. So, and it was interesting to see that, as you can see at the bottom, the players that weren't involved in that drill were the players that were in the starting 11 against Bolton, the ones that you probably say come the 10th of August will probably be that starting 11. Now, what was good to see is, of course, Schumacher getting involved. He's working with Niall Ennis and Nathan Lowe here, just a kind of striker, turn and shoot, kind of working the angle, battling away, and of course Lewis Baker, who was also allowed to pop off a shot, which we know he can hit the back of the net. But I really enjoyed that, a real good insight into the training that goes on day to day at the club. It was interesting that, of course, the kind of starting 11 that were against Bolton, that you presume would be the starting 11 against AZ Alkmaar for the final friendly, they didn't do too much training, so maybe they might have done it already, or they've got that plan for tomorrow. I'm not too sure, but a real fascinating insight, really good by the club that they do that every single year. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe a couple more kind of vlog style video. I don't know if I'm good at it. I don't know. I've got not a Scooby at all, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.